Hi book friends, I'm Addie and this is Books and Tea Time, and today's video is going to be a very special edition of a vlog. Also, it is going to be the second episode in my fantasy adventure 2021 series. I'll have the first episode linked, but basically I filmed a video where I listed all the fantasy series I want to start in 2021. I'll also have that video linked, and then I decided that I'm going to vlog my experience reading the first book in all those series and compile a playlist on my channel of all those vlogs, so then at the end of the year I'll have like a whole playlist filled with me starting these series and giving you my thoughts and letting you know how I feel about them. The first book that I read was Cradle by Will White, and I really liked it. It was a fun video, so definitely please go check that out if you're interested. But today is episode 2, and this is going to be a kind of unique episode because it is going to be spoiler filled. So typically these videos will be absolutely spoiler free, but as I'm going to explain in a few minutes, this is going to be spoilery for a very specific reason. So today we are reading The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I have had this book on my list since I started watching BookTube like 5 years ago, because this is like one of the most beloved epic fantasy series there is. Everybody and their mama tells me to read this. My actual dad told me to read this. I have so many friends who love it. I have BookTube friends that love it. A lot of my favorite, like really popular BookTubers love it. It's about time that I started it. If you don't know what this series is about or you haven't read this, that's okay. I will be eventually doing a spoiler-free review in my wrap-up of how I felt about this book, so you will hear my thoughts, like my non-spoilery thoughts. So if you haven't read this, I would maybe pause, save this video for later, and come back, because this video is for future me and for all of my fellow fantasy Brandon Sanderson fans. In my like fantasy 2021 books I want to read, I talked about how I was hesitant to start this series because it's, I think, supposed to be 10 or 11 books long. That's what Brandon Sanderson says, and I trust him to write it. I trust him to finish it, but it's probably going to take another decade for him to finish this series. And necessarily you're gonna have to reread, you know, like I understand that I'm eventually gonna have to reread all these books, but my problem is I don't want to have to reread every book every time a new one comes out. So for example, I don't want to have to reread the first 4 before the 5th one comes out, and then a few years later have to reread the first 5 before the 6th one comes out. I want to reread this because I want to, not because I have to. So even though I do probably plan on rereading this in the future so that I can annotate it and revisit this world if I really love it, I don't want to have to reread it all the time, every like 3 or 4 years, so that I know what's going on. I wanted to make this vlog series where I read this book and I give you all my spoilery thoughts, my spoilery reactions, my summaries of what's going on and how I feel about it, so that I can come back and watch this video and treat it as like a rereading, like a mini rereading experience. So if I don't want to, or I don't have time to reread this before, say, the 5th book comes out, I can come back and watch all of these installments and I'll remember what happened, I'll remember how I felt, some key moments, some big things, and I'll be able to just put myself back in the Stormlight Archive headspace without having to reread all like 4,000 plus pages. I hope that makes sense, and I was kind of hoping that a lot of other people would be able to use these videos for a similar purpose. So if you don't have time or you don't want to reread, you'll still be able to get the vibe, you know? So I am going to be telling you guys in my check-ins what's going on, what characters are doing, what characters have met, my favorite characters, my thoughts, my reactions to the plot twists. So again, there are going to be so many spoilers in this video, but it's okay if you want to come back to this later. So if you have read this series, I think it would also be really fun just to see my reactions to like the big plot twist moments and how I feel about the characters as I'm going along. I do plan on doing the same type of video for Words of Radiance, Oathbringer, and Rhythm of War, which are books 2, 3, and 4. All 4 books that are currently out as of today in June 2021. Yeah, that's kind of my plan, is to just share the reading experience with you and kind of have like a book club type thing going on. I have started. I am currently like 300 pages in, and I hope that this video helps future me, but also helps all of you Brandon Sanderson fans who have read this and maybe need a refresher, you know, to get you through back into this world. I am going to hop on in a little bit and give you my first check-in, my first thoughts on what's happened so far, and just break down what's going on and how I feel about it. But for now, I think I'm gonna go figure out what's for dinner, so. Hi friends, I'm back. It's a little while later and I think it's time for me to share my first check-in for The Way of Kings. I don't want to get too far in without giving you my first check-in so I don't, you know, miss out on my reaction to like the very beginning. I'm currently on chapter 24. I am 350 pages in. Basically so far I've read the prologue, part 1, the first set of interludes, partway into part 2. Let's talk about the world a little bit first so we can set the scene. So far, a lot of the things that have stuck out to me about the world is that the class system so far, from what I understand, is organized based on your eye color. So light eyes or light-eyed people are considered to be of like higher class, whereas like dark-eyed people are considered to be like lower or like servant class almost. But also depending on where you are in like the world, like here I'll show you a map of Roshar, which is the place that we're in. Depending on where you are, your customs and your culture and your history vary a little bit. We've spent a lot of time in Aletha? Alethkar? Alethkar is kind of one of the main kingdoms we've been exploring so far, and their whole culture and class system and everything is all based around competition and battle and war. And the main plot point that kind of sets us off in the prologue is that Gavilar, who was the king of Alethkar, is assassinated, and we follow the perspective of his assassin Zeth in the prologue, and the rest of the story takes place several years later, and we're following the aftermath and the outcome of that event. And so when Gavilar is killed, the kingdom Alethkar goes to war with the Parashendi. They take responsibility for killing Gavilar, but they don't tell them why or like claim why that they killed Gavilar, so that's kind of a mystery in and of itself. But yeah, so far we are following a couple people in Alethkar and their war and what has kind of happened with the war, because I believe it's been 7 or so years. Some world building and magic system stuff. First things first is that storms are a huge part of like the ecological format of this world. So there are frequent and intense storms that occur throughout Roshar. The fact that there are these frequent and intense storms informs a lot of the way that people live their lives, and even like the plants and the animals. So well, like there's some plants that we've encountered so far, like you kind of even see them on this front cover here, that will like close off and then open depending on like the storm and what's going on. So that's a really interesting part of this world is like the storm and the organization and the creatures. There are these like really massive like crab-like creatures called chulls, I believe, or shulls. I'm gonna pull up a picture of them. This is one of my favorite illustrations. It's on page 144, but like this gives you kind of an idea. I don't know if this is in every book, which is kind of why I'm showing you the illustrations. So that's really cool. I just really love how much detail Brandon Sanderson puts into it. I know a lot of people will maybe be like, this is too much detail, but I love how detailed and amazing and how you can just like absolutely immerse yourself in the world. Another really cool thing are the spren. I don't really even know how to describe them other than they are kind of magical creatures, or non-human creatures, we'll call them, that are attracted to human emotion and creativity and just human actions. So there are different types of spren, like a variety of spren. We've only been introduced to a couple thus far, and I'm still not even 100% sure what's going on with them, but like there are music spren and creativity spren and like fear spren, anger spren, rot spren, and then in addition another part of the magic system is like shard blades and shard plates. So shard blades, from what I understand, are swords that are pretty like, I'm pretty sure that they can cut through anything, and they are sort of magical, and they are summoned by the person like from nowhere, or like from thin air almost. So Dalinar, who's one of our perspectives, has a shard blade, and it takes him I think 10 seconds from thinking about summoning it to it appearing and him being able to use it. And then there's also shard plate, which is like this special armor that enhances like your speed and your strength and your like endurance, things like that. So yeah, that's so far what I know about the magic system and what I know about the world. Perspectives, characters, main POVs. We've met like probably 150 characters by this point. I tried to keep a character list, and honestly I gave up because there are so many characters. A lot of them are side characters that we're probably not going to meet again for a very long time, if ever, but I'm just going to take you through the main POVs that I've met so far. So we have Zeth is the first perspective that we meet. He is the assassin who kills Gavilar in the prologue. We haven't learned much else about him. Basically, he has like a string of masters, and he's passed from person to person, and he has to do whatever they say. The only thing he can't do is take his own life. So to dumb it down, he's kind of like Ella Enchanted. That's a really weird comparison, and his life is much darker than Ella Enchanted, but if you've seen that movie, he's kind of like that. Then my favorite character so far is Kaladin. Kaladin already has stolen my heart and my attention and all of my love. He's everything you want in a character. I don't know, maybe I'm speaking too soon, but I really love him so far. So he is like a lower class or dark-eyed person, and at the very beginning we meet him, and he is like part of this regiment, and he is leading his regiment to victory. And then it fasts forward a couple years, and he is a slave, and we don't really know how he gets from point A to point B yet, but we kind of get the idea that someone like a light-eyed or high-ranking person screwed him over basically. And so we follow him through his time as a slave, and then he's sold to be a bridgeman, which basically are slaves and people who are considered expendable by the armies, and they carry the bridges across these huge plateaus in the Shattered Plains where the war is taking place, and the army walks across the bridges, and they just carry the bridge for the army, and they distract the enemy army. He just met Rock and Teft and is kind of like befriending them and working with them to care for his men on his bridge crew, and he's trying to find meaning and get meaning back in his life and the lives of the other bridge men, because that's really like all he can do, and he doesn't want to give up and just succumb to depression and madness. So he's really fighting against a lot of his own inner turmoil and issues, but also fighting against the actual circumstances as a slave and the other things he has to go through. Other perspectives, I've met Shallon, who already I don't even know if I love her or if I distrust her or both, maybe. So we meet Shallon, and she is eager to learn, and she wants to become an understudy, kind of, there's an actual term for it, to Jasna Colin, who is an Alethi, I think is how you would say it. She's from Alethkar, and Alethi high-ranking Light Eyes. She's the sister to the current king, who's Gavilar's son, so she's Gavilar's daughter. Yes. And so Jasna is a absolutely brilliant, lauded scholar, but she's also this whole clip I'm looking for the word heretic, and so I just wanted to pop in and make it simple and just say Jasna is a heretic. There you go. She's really brilliant and sassy and really badass so far. I haven't seen much of her, but Shallon wants to be her understudy, and right at the end of like one of our first chapters where we read from Shallon, we find out that she is trying to gain Jasna's trust so that she can steal this fabrial, I think it's called, this like device that allows her to do magic. Shallon's trying to steal from her because something happened at her home where her father has died, and her and her brothers are trying to keep that secret so that their family doesn't fall into ruin and disgrace, and they're trying to gain back a lot of money to pay off their father's debts, and she wants to do that by stealing this device from Jasna. So that's all I've really learned about them so far. I met Dalinar and Adolin, or Adolin, I'm actually not sure how to say his name. Dalinar is Gavilar's brother, and he's having a lot of problems right now because he feels super guilty for being drunk the night that his brother is murdered and not being able to protect him. He's also having nightmares during the storms, like the intense storms that I mentioned earlier. He's having these nightmares, and a lot of people are saying that he's going crazy and that he is losing his touch. And his son Adolin and his other son Renarin are both kind of trying to figure out what's going on with their dad, but also protect his reputation while also making names for themselves, because the war has kind of turned into this competition among the lords in Alethkar, where it's more about getting these things called gem hearts and winning competitions with your allies rather than defeating the enemy army. What else has been going on? Kaladin has this spren following him around named Syl. That's not her full name, but that's what I'm gonna call her because I don't remember her full name. And that's really rare for a spren to have memory and to talk to people and engage with them and follow them around for a very long extended period of time, and she's kind of growing more and more sentient as she spends time with Kaladin, so that's another mystery. Also, another thing I'm gonna say is that in between each like part, like there's part 1, part 2, etc., are interludes where you go to other places in Roshar in this huge world and spend like a quick chapter with the character there. Really liking it so far. It's definitely epic and everything that I expected from this fantasy series, so yeah. I'm gonna go read right now and we'll see how far I can get the rest of this evening. I would really love to get to the halfway point before this weekend. It's currently a Wednesday, so maybe by Sunday I'll hit 500-ish pages. We'll see. Peace out. Okay, hello. It's time to go over the very first set of interludes. There are 3 sets of interludes, and in this first set we have Ishik, Nan, Balat, and Zeth in the 3 respective chapters. The first one, we are following Ishik, who is a humble fisherman who has a meeting with these mysterious people who are looking for a man named Hoyd, who we actually later find out is Wit. And the men come and talk to Ishik and are looking for Hoyd and trying to get him to tell them what he's seen. Ishik is from a different place in Roshar from what we've been seeing with other perspectives, called the Pure Lake, which is an entire community of houses built on stilts in the middle of this really large lake, and their whole community is based around fishing and things like that. The second perspective we see is actually one of Shallan's brothers, and he basically, whatever we learn about him is that he really likes killing and torturing animals, and that things are not going well at home without Shallan there now that their father is dead. And this takes place in the Horn-Eater Peaks of Ja Kaved, where Shallan is from, so a little closer to where we've been. Finally, we always get a Szeth perspective in the interludes, and in this first one, we are just learning more about Szeth and the fact that he has something called an Oath Stone, and when someone has that in their possession, they can demand anything of Szeth, and he must follow their orders as long as it is not to take his own life or give up his shard blade. And Szeth is from a place called Shinovar in the far west of Roshar, but he has been traveling around to many different places with the different masters that he has had since killing Gavilar in the prologue.
Oh my god, okay, so I just showed you guys some clips. I went to a bookstore like 20 minutes from my house with my friend. She is in town. She's my friend from college, and she's in town for the week or the weekend, and we're both fully vaccinated, so we went book shopping together. And it is literally, when I tell you, it is one of the best bookstores I've ever been to in my life. They have everything. New, old, everything, just gorgeous editions of everything, and I loved it. We were in there for like an hour. I told myself I was only gonna get 2 books and I ended up getting 4, so that's not ideal. It is called the White Whale Bookstore, and it's only 20 minutes from my house, but it's in like kind of an inconvenient place for me to get to and like to park. So I've never been here before, but it was stunning. Like 10 out of 10. Based on their selection, I probably could have got like 80 to 90% of my bookshop wish list in there, which is insane. Like Barnes & Noble never has all of those books. Half Price Books, never. Not even the other 2 used bookstores that I go to usually. It's amazing. It's just such a small, adorable, cute little bookstore, and I love it, and I'm definitely going to be coming back. So that was today's adventure. I did reach part 3 of The Way of Kings today. So I'm gonna go home and read a little bit more, and I'll update you on what's going on and what my thoughts are. But right now, I need to go home and eat lunch because I'm hungry and hot. So, peace out.
In the next set of interludes, we get 2 additional new perspectives and another time where we see some more about Szeth. In this, we get Risen, Axes, and Szeth as the 3 main perspectives of this set of interludes. First, we meet a young aspiring merchant named Risen, and she is in this scene engaging in an exchange with people from Shinovar and seeing chickens for the first time, and noticing how the people from Shinovar are different than a lot of the other places in Alethkar, or in Roshar, I guess, and they are from the island of Thalen, but they go to Shinovar to exchange in this trade. Then we meet Axes the Collector, who goes around Roshar collecting information about the different kinds of spren, and he is currently getting purposefully drunk every night to try and see if he can find intoxication spren, and that leads him to a lot of trouble when he wakes up from these nights of binge drinking. And in this scene, he is in a city in Erie called Cassitor. I hope I'm saying these names right, but he has traveled to the west to investigate the spren. The next time we see Szeth, a new, sinister, and anonymous person has collected his Oathstone and demanded that he kill a list filled of high-ranking kings and bright lords throughout Roshar in a very brutal and public way, and this has really struck Szeth as a shift in his destiny as the Truthless of Shinovar.
Friends, we're back in the car. Right now, I'm going to hang out with Alexander, my significant other partner, honey buns. We're both really hungry, so I think we're gonna get Mexican food for dinner and probably watch the first episode of Loki tonight. Really excited. So that's what we're doing, but I am here to tell you that I am officially 50% of the way done with The Way of Kings. I just finished the second set of interludes. So where are our beloved characters at right now at the halfway point? Let's see. Kaladin is finally, he is the bridge leader for Bridge 4, and he's finally gained all of their trust, and they're like joking around and having meals together and like just trying to like find meaning in their lives when they're like treated as expendable like tools for these high princes in their war. Basically, bridgemen are like targets for the enemy army that protect the actual army from taking like the first set of like arrows and volleys, so their lives are not regarded as like valuable by the people in the army, and because they're like mostly deserters and people who have been enslaved and just treated as non-human tools for the army, and they carry the bridges across these chasms. Anyway, so Kaladin just thought up the idea of using the bridge as a shield, and they did, and so much just like spiraled out of control because of it, and he basically lost High Prince Sidious, or whatever his name is, lost him that plateau assault. So he just got the absolute shit kicked out of him, and it made me want to cry. He's such a sweetheart and like an honorable man, and his relationship with Syl and with Rock and Teft and all the other bridgemen that are like starting to gain his trust, I'm just seeing him, or like reading him get the crap beaten out of him for just trying to protect their lives, and seeing their excitement when none of them get hurt or die, and then immediately afterwards realizing that they are going to be like severely punished just for trying to protect themselves. It breaks my heart. Anyway, moving on. What's going on with Dalinar and Adolin? Well, Dalinar most recently decided that he's going to abdicate his like position as High Prince. I don't really know that I believe it. I feel like something's gonna happen to prevent it or delay it. I just don't, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but like, to me, it just wouldn't really make sense at this point for him to abdicate and give the throne to his son Adolin, whatever his name is. But I don't know. So he's thinking about abdicating because he's like starting to question whether his visions are just actually him getting old and, you know, madness creeping in, or if like he's serious and like he's comparing himself to his brother right before his brother was assassinated. So put a pin in that, because part 3 we're seeing a lot more of Shallan and Jasnah, whatever her name is still planning to steal Jasnah's soulcaster. But I really like Shallan and Jasnah. Shallan is just so witty, and Jasnah is just a bad bitch. She's just so smart, and she just has that air about her that she always is like 10 steps ahead of other people. So she just has this calm but knowledgeable way about her, and she's clever and brilliant, and she's a heretic. So she's like always just engaging in these debates with people, and she's just so like casual about her heresy, while like other people are like, but what do you mean you don't believe in the Almighty? Zeth, oh my god, in the second interludes, now has a diabolical master who wants him to assassinate a bunch of really important high-ranking people and like kings and high princes. So shit's about to hit the fan, and I'm not ready. My friend Marissa, my really good friend who loves this series and who is like, I'm updating her regularly as I'm reading, she told me the last 200 pages, like, I'm just gonna hit a point where I'm not gonna be able to put it down. And the book is already pretty, like, unput-downable. Like, there's a lot of politics, there's a lot of world building, there's a lot of character development, but I like all of that, so I don't really mind it. And as long as I'm not, like, forcing myself to read it and I'm reading it for enjoyment, I really am not foreseeing that being a problem. But yeah, she said that the last 200 pages are just intense and crazy, and I'm so excited. Curiouser and curiouser. Peace out.
Friends, it's much later in the evening now, and I'm about to retire and hit the hay. Just wanted to show you really quick before I go to bed that I added some colored tabs. I did decide that I don't want to annotate the first time around, and I don't want to like highlight and put tabs like on the side of the pages. I just really want to read and enjoy, but I thought it would be fun to flag the different perspectives. So the green on the end here is all of the Kaladin so far. I mean, you can see just from looking at it this way, we've clearly had the most Kaladin, which is amazing. Something I also forgot to mention is that we get flashbacks from Kaladin's past in this book. So every couple Kaladin chapters will have like 6 or 7 years in the past where we get to learn about like his backstory, coming from like a small village, and his father was a surgeon and like a healer, and he wanted Kaladin to follow in his footsteps, so to speak, so he like trained him and educated him to be a surgeon, but Kaladin always wanted to be a soldier and to protect the people that he loved. So yeah, there's that. And then the pink is Shallan, or like the Shallan and Yasna chapters. The orange is Dalinar and Adolin. They often come together in the same chapter, and the yellow over here are the interludes and like prologue and stuff. I do have to work tomorrow and Saturday, so I don't know how much reading I'm gonna get in over the next couple days, but we're sure gonna try. So good night, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite. Okay, Kaladin just survived a high storm. So there's that. Kaladin has like something special going on with him. Kaladin, storm blessed, no surprise, survived a high storm. I knew he was gonna survive, but like I'm nevertheless very curious. I still haven't worked out this part of the magic system where like I understand like there are people who can soul cast, and I understand that there are like people who have shard plate and have shard blades, but I haven't figured out if it's like you're born with this power or if it's something that you can learn or inherit, because like if you kill someone who has a shard blade, you can then take the shard blade. And Shallan is trying to steal the soulcaster from Yasna to use it, so then like can anyone use a soulcaster? So I'm trying to decide what specifically Kaladin is, because he can use Stormlight. You know what? Is he like Szeth? Because Szeth can do like lashing and stuff, which I still haven't really figured that out, but he can like change gravity and like run upside down and run on walls, and he uses Stormlight to do that. So maybe Kaladin and Szeth are both special in that way. I am confused. The point is that Kaladin can use Stormlight from spheres. So like the money system in this world are these spheres that are different colors but have light in them, and you use them for light, but you also use them as currency. And when they run out of light, you put them out during a high storm, and like the Stormfather or the Almighty will imbue them with more light. And Kaladin, it seems, is always creating dull spheres when he's around, and I think it's because he's drawing upon their power. I literally don't care if every other character in this book like dies and the world implodes, as long as Kaladin and Syl are ferried to safety before that happens. I am headed to work now, and I'm probably gonna read when I get home because I'm obsessed. I can't stop thinking about it. I'm so absorbed and sucked in that like I just don't want to do anything else. I just want to read. I want to find out what happens. I'm going to stop rambling now and go be productive and work and make money so that I can buy the rest of the books in the series and read them. Back in the car for another car update with Addie. Oh boy, do we have a lot to catch up on. I don't remember what page I was on last time I updated you, but I'm on page 687, and shit just got real. Shallan, oh my god, her perspective just got wild. So first of all, she finally stole Jasna's soulcaster because she was mad at Jasna. So Jasna was like trying to teach her about philosophy and morality, and she killed these like thieves and murderers from this like shady district in Kharbranth, and Shallan was like, oh my god, you shouldn't do that, that's not right, blah 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 blah, and they like went into this whole like philosophical debate about it, but she was still mad at Jasna, so she decided to steal the soulcaster. Finally, that's like what pushed her over the edge and convinced her to do it. Meanwhile, she's falling in love with scholarship and research, and she wants to be a scholar and stay, and she's like been flirting with this Ardent who's like, I think like a monk kind of person. Like he's definitely not supposed to have like romantic relationships, but he's like, I'll leave for you because I love you, and I'm just like, what the hell? So on top of that, after she steals Jasna's soulcaster, and first of all, like, I like Shallan's perspective a lot. I really, really love it. I like to distrust her character, if that makes sense. I like that I don't know if I can trust her. I like that I don't really know her motives, and that some of her backstory is like hazy and mysterious. But I really like Jasna. She uses her brain as a weapon in the way that the most skilled warriors do, and that is just so amazing and impressive to me, to have intellect be a weapon, and also to have intellect just be central and really valued. So Shallan steals the soulcaster, and then like her guilt is eating her away, and she wants to stay, she doesn't want to leave, but she has to leave because she has to go help her brothers and bring them the soulcaster, but she doesn't know how to use it, so then she's trying to figure out how to use it while also figuring out why Jasna is studying the Voidbringers, which are like these mysterious mythical-esque creatures that may or may not be real.
And then she starts hearing voices, and so Shaolin, I might have not mentioned this, is an artist, and she starts sketching pictures that have these like ghost-like figures with these like crystallized symbol-like faces in the background. And like there's this scene where she just keeps like looking at something and they're not there, and then she sketches it and they are there, and they keep getting closer, like sketch by sketch. It's so creepy and like horrifying, but I loved it. And then like they start talking to her and they transport her to this weird like alternate realm with like these beads that make up an ocean. She accidentally soul casts a bunch of blood, so she figures out kind of accidentally how to use the soul caster, and she turns this cup into a pool of blood. And to cover it up so that Jasna doesn't find out, she cuts herself, and then she wakes up in a hospital and everyone thinks that she tried to like harm herself and take her life. So she's trapped in this hospital and they won't let her leave, and then they finally let her have visitors, and Jasna comes and she's like, I'm really sorry, like I didn't mean to push you. And then Capsule, her like maybe love interest, comes and they eat food, and then she gets poisoned. And on top of that, not only does she get poisoned, and we don't know who poisoned her or why they poisoned her or what's going on, but she can't. Jasna tries to save her life, but she can't save her life because she has the fake soulcaster. So then she has to take her soulcaster out of the secret pouch in her safe hand, and she has to give it to Jasna, and then the chapter ends. And I'm just like, what? Also, okay, I seriously don't believe that Shaolin duped Jasna. I really just don't believe that Shaolin actually tricked her and stole the real soulcaster. Like, I feel like there's gotta be something else going on where Jasna knew, or she put a fake one there. Like, I just really don't believe that Jasna's that naive when she's like basically in a foreign land where she doesn't know anyone, and she has a tenuous relationship with the king, but the king doesn't have a lot of power, and she's surrounded by these ardents who are trying to convert her and like don't really like her because she's a heretic. Like, I just don't believe, like, she literally acknowledged to Shaolin's face that the ardents want to steal her soulcaster. And then we're back to Kaladin. So Kaladin's new plan is to try and escape, because they think that he convinced the bridge men that that's really their only option other than just like waiting to be killed by the arrows from the enemy army on one of these bridge runs. So right now they're planning an escape, and they've been assigned permanently to chasm duty, which is like they go down into the chasms between the plateaus and scavenge. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm loving it. I hope to finish it by the end of the week, maybe by Friday. That being said, I hope you guys are having a wonderful time. What day is today? I don't even know, but I hope you're having a good day whenever you're watching this, and that you're enjoying your Pride Month, June, summer, happy times. Peace out.
Okay, we're back again for the very last set of interludes, where we meet a man named Baxel, a female ardent named Garanid, and of course spend one more section with Zeth. In this interlude, we meet Baxel, who is an assistant to a very mysterious woman who goes to the houses of high-ranking and rich individuals and destroys and defaces their artwork and sculptures in their homes. We don't really know why she does this, but as she's doing that, Baxel is talking with his co-worker, and we learn a little bit more about old magic and the Night Watcher, which can take place if you journey to a place called the Valley, which is coincidentally right next to the location we're at in this interlude, which is Emule. After that, we spend a short chapter with Garanid, who is a female ardent on an island with another male ardent, and they are discussing the possibility of measuring spren and how to measure spren while also enjoying some good food together. And as I said, they are on an island in the northern area of Roshar called the Reshi Isles, and they are spending time secluded there together working on their respective projects. Lastly, we see the third interlude with Zeth, and in this chapter he goes to kill the king of Ja Kaved, who we find out is or was a shard bearer before Szeth killed him, and this is the second to last person on his list that he must kill for his new master, whom we still don't know much of anything about. Alright, I am almost done. I have 100 pages left. We haven't really got anything new from Shalyn since she was like left by Yasna, cut off at rock bottom, lost the soulcaster, find out that she was poisoned and duped and wooed by this guy just so he could get to Jasna, and Jasna's like, bitch, you threw this away. You had a chance to be one of the best scholars and to work with me? Hell no. So what's been going on with Kaladin? He figured out that he can use Stormlight to do stuff. He can use it to heal himself, and he can use it to like redirect the arrows of the Parshendi. He can use it to like move stuff. I think, if I'm understanding this correctly, I think he can do what Szeth can do, like the lashings and things like that, because Szeth uses Stormlight when he fights like in the interludes, and I think that's what Kaladin can do. I don't know if they're the same or if what Szeth does is different. I'm kind of still confused on that front. I don't think we're supposed to know, but yeah, he figured out that he can do that, and he has been changing the game. He's been teaching Bridgeford to use spears when they're on chasm duty. They're planning an escape, but he's still not sure how they're going to pull it off. And another thing that's been going on is that he's started wearing armor, and he and Bridgeford started wearing armor and kind of directing all of the arrows at them because they're wearing the bones of Parshendi dead, and the Parshendi have a very, very particular ritual for the dead bodies of their people, and they don't like for them to be moved or obviously desecrated and like used as decoration. So Kaladin is doing that to draw their attention and draw their fire so that the other bridge crews and his bridge crew don't take any arrows, and so they're not dying very quickly. And he's doing this because he can redirect the arrows and move quickly and heal if he gets hit by using the Stormlight. So he started doing that, and it actually worked in the army's favor, so he wasn't really punished for it. But also at the same time, Dalinar and Sidious started like joint assaults, which was Dalinar's idea. He tried to get one of the other High Princes to do it, and they all said no. I just finished the chapter where Sidious abandons him because like a bunch of the Parshendi are there and a second army comes in. In addition to that, Dalinar he decided to try and prove if his visions were true or not, based on like looking up information that he gets in these visions and like these very detailed experiences where he becomes someone from the past and has to like live their life and engage with these people from like thousands and thousands of years ago. And they find out that they are true because he goes back in time and speaks, or he thinks he goes back in time and speaks to the author of the Way of Kings, which is this ancient text about how kings should rule their people, and the language that he speaks when he's in these trances essentially is proving that he isn't mad and that these are real visions. So he's still struggling and doesn't know if he should trust these visions or not, whatever, but he's not crazy that we know of yet. He and Navani started getting it on, not surprised at all. I mean, there's tension between them from the moment that they meet, but Navani is Gavilar's widow, and Dalinar really liked her when he was younger, and they be kissing, so there's that too. Also, there's this thing in this world where you seek the old magic, and you go to this like valley and you ask this person called the Night Watcher. You ask for something and you get a curse and the like whatever you asked for in return. And Dalinar's curse is that he can't remember anything about his wife, like the mother of his 2 children. He can't remember her name. Anytime someone brings her up, it's just like a hushing sound. Dad, if you're watching this video, cover your ears because I know how much you love Dalinar, but honestly, he's my least favorite character. He's like, oh, I'm like, everyone thinks that I've lost my, like, oomph, you know? I used to be this amazing warrior, the Blackthorn, and now I'm just, like, this old senile man to everybody. And I'm just like, oh my god, cry me a river, I don't care. What I do really appreciate about Brandon Sanderson's multi-POV in this is that you get something different out of each POV. Like, obviously you get a different character in each POV, or a different set of characters, but you also just get a different, like, entry point into the world. So for example, when you're with Dalinar and Adolin and Navani, you're getting a lot of the politics and the political scheming and the political tension, intrigue, etc. And you're seeing a lot of, like, the big picture historical, like, events through the eyes of these people, and you're seeing the strategy of the war play out. And then, like, when you're with Shallan and Jasnah, you get a look at the scholarship and the culture and artistic stuff from Shallan's books. There's also a very thrilling element to it and a mystery component as well, because there's a lot about Shallan's past that we don't know. I will say, I'm just gonna say this right now, I think Shallan has a shard blade. I don't know how, I don't really know what that means. I think it's unconventional for a woman to have a shard blade, but there's just, like, these two sentences that made me think that, and I don't know if I'm right, if I'm wrong, don't tell me, but that's my prediction, and I wanted to get it recorded on camera so that if it's true, you guys know I called it. Then when you're with Kaladin, you look a lot more at, like, the effects of war, the raw, like, bare effects of what it's like to be a bridgeman or a slave or a low-ranking officer in the war. You also get to see a lot of the battle. Like, I mean, you see a battle with Dalinar too, but, like, you get to see a lot of, like, the physical preparation, the training, the actual battles, the suffering, the death, all of that, and his flashbacks and everything are really wonderful. And, like, you learn about him becoming a surgeon and then, like, what happens, and oh my god, it broke my heart when you find out how he was betrayed and became a slave, when, like, he kills a shard bearer and who killed all of his men basically, and then King Amaram kills the 4 remaining people and says, I'm going to spare your life because you saved my life, but I'm taking this and pretending that I want it, and you're a slave now. Kaladin just means so well, and then people screw him over and he thinks that it's his fault, and it's not his fault, and I just want to give him a hug. Got Words of Radiance today. I showed you a clip of that. I couldn't wait. I needed a copy, so I have the sequel whenever I'm ready. I'm gonna go eat dinner and finish this book. Peace. Y'all, I finished it. I finished The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, and I let myself ruminate for a few days and just, like, let it all melt into my brain tissue. I talked to my friend Marissa about it. We had, like, an hour and 15-minute Zoom where I just gushed about it. She is, like, fully caught up on the series, like, all the way to Rhythm of War, which is the 4th book. She loves Brandon Sanderson. I promised her that when we graduated that I would read this series, and so I, like, update her on the regular, and we just gushed about it, and I was like, oh my god, this, oh my god, that. So I have literally 3 pages of notes here of all the things that I have to remember to talk about, because there are, like, 6 plot twists, like 5 huge reveals of information. So many things have happened since I last updated you that I just don't know where to begin. Sadia stabs Dalinar in the back. Are we surprised? No. I kind of knew he was a snake. I kind of saw it coming, but the degree to which he stabs him in the back. So he takes him to, like, one of the most difficult to defend plateaus in the Shattered Plains, and he abandons him with, like, 10,000 Parshendi just, like, surrounding his crew, and he takes all his bridges with him. But Kaladin and Bridge 4, the babes of Bridge 4, come and rescue him, because they're like, this is super messed up. They're realizing what Sidious is doing, and they obviously have no loyalty to Sidious because he just doesn't value their lives. And Kaladin has this like mega overpowered god level moment where he like sucks up all of the stormlight from the gems. So the Parshendi that have like facial hair and beards, they weave like mini gems into like their facial hair and like as a decoration. But all of these gems and things like that, like the spheres, all have stormlight in them. He like jumps over a plateau by himself and is like just killing everybody, and all the people on his bridge crew see, and they're just like, damn, Kaladin, yes. Go and they rescue Dalinar, and the rest of Dalinar's forces, which is basically like cut down like 70%. I think he leaves with like 2,000 or 3,000 men when he left with I think 8,000. So the rest of them escape off the plateau and they go back to the war camp where Sidious has told Navani and Renarin that Dalinar is dead. He saw him die. He's a freaking liar. And then Dalinar shows up and he's like, what the, are you kidding me? He basically just goes up to Sidious and he's like, you know, you did what you had to do, but I'm taking all your bridge men and they're coming with me and you owe me that. And he promised at the very least that he would take bridge 4 into his camp, and Kaladin is like, oh my god, here we go, because Sidious says no. And may I just say, I know in the last clip I said Dalinar's a big dull dud, and for the first 800 pages, I stand by that statement. However, Dalinar goes from like a 2 to like an 8 in the span of 100 pages. He gets his stride back and I love it. So after Sidious is like, no, I'm not giving you my bridgeman, he takes out his shard blade and gives it to Sidious. He's like, here, take it. And Sidious is a greedy little bastard, so he takes it and he's like, wow, why would you trade this for me? And he takes all his bridgemen and he's like, you're my soldiers now, dudes. And it doesn't even stop there. Then he marches to Elhokar's chambers. Elhokar is the king, son of Gavilar. It's Dalinar's nephew, blah, blah, blah. And he beats the shit out of him. And when I say it's hilarious, I definitely mean it. Elhokar is kind of a sweetheart, but he's also kind of an idiot and just like a naive king, and he's paranoid. And Dalinar beats the crap out of him, and he gets him to admit not only did he cut his own saddle, like there's this whole conspiracy that someone's trying to kill him, and we find out that he cut his saddle on purpose so that he would fall, so that Dalinar would believe that someone was trying to kill him and like help him. So someone is likely trying to kill him, but Dalinar beats the crap out of him and he's like, listen, no one is coming to save you right now because I have all of these guards in my pocket. If I wanted to kill you, I would kill you, and I'm not going to because I love you and you're my nephew, but like I need to beat some sense into you right now. So like look me in the eyes. I'm not trying to kill you and you're an idiot and you're gonna make me High Prince of War. And I was like, yes, tomorrow you're gonna make me High Prince of War and I'm gonna get our shit together. We're gonna win this war. We're gonna beat the Parshendi and we're gonna get the hell out of here because this thing we've been doing the past 6 years is not working and I'm sick of it. And then the best part, the absolute best part, he's walking out of Elhokar's chamber and he's like, oh, BTW, I'm screwing your mom. Get used to it. And then he closes the door and I'm just like, yes. Where was this Dalinar colon the entire book? And he better not lose his momentum in Words of Radiance or I'm gonna be like, bye. So, Shallan. I think it's Shallan, but that's like a little too fancy for me, so I'm just gonna say Shallan. And yes, it sounds like shallot, but we're just gonna move past that. So, last time we saw her, she was like at rock bottom, if not underneath rock bottom, and we returned her perspective. She's still in the hospital and she's like going over things in her head. She figures out that Yasna somehow had used the soulcaster before she turned over the one that she'd stolen, so she goes to see Jasna after Jasna basically said, you're dead to me, peace, and she walks up to her and she says, your soulcaster's fake, isn't it? And Yasna's like, what? Long story short, Jasna's soulcaster is fake because she doesn't need a soulcaster to soulcast. There are fabrials, which to me is kind of like the technology of this universe that is developed from the original powers of like the 10 heralds or the Knights Radiant. Still not sure if they're the same thing or different, but basically the like ancient powers of this world are dumbed down into technology or fabrials, and soulcasters are a branch of that. So soulcasters have been created and certain people do use them to soulcast, but there are people like Shalyn and like Jasna who don't need soulcasters to soulcast. And Shalyn figures out that that's how she turned the goblet to blood without even using or even touching the soulcaster, which is what kind of sets this whole crap into motion. They both have the ability to go to this place called Shadesmar, which is kind of like an afterlife or maybe a purgatory space. In this spiritual realm, there are these little like creepy figures that she's been seeing, and Jasna says they're a type of spren. Also, Shalyn admits that she killed her father, which I kind of saw that coming, and that clearly is weighing on her conscience. She's heartbroken because she got played, absolutely played by Capsule, who is also diabolical and also very dead. And we find out that he is likely part of this group called Ghost Bloods. I still don't know a lot about them, but from what I understand, Shalyn's father was either involved with them or directly part of their organization. The very last one, which is the most Brandon Sanderson plot twist ever, is that the Voidbringers, which are like this mythological story of like scary monsters in the dark that some people think were real, some people think are just a legend to like scare you. Jasna her whole like scholarship mission is to take supernatural and mythological things and find their natural correlation or the natural thing that sparked those stories and like embellished them, if that makes sense. So she has been researching Voidbringers to try and prove that they are a natural, or they do have a natural form that has been exaggerated. And she basically drops this bomb that the Parshmen, which are also the Parshendi, actually not human. They are enslaved Voidbringers. So humanity enslaved these crazy, powerful, like god-like devil beast creatures. Humanity enslaved these creatures, and they are now the Parshmen, who will like do whatever you say and they don't talk back, blah blah blah. They're like the perfect slave. Apparently they like tortured humanity for thousands of years. To me, it's just, it has that Brandon Sanderson like stamp, you know, like his thing that he does with mythology and world building and history, bringing like these larger than life religious mythological figures into the natural physical world. Like, to me, what Jasna does is exactly what Brandon Sanderson has perfected in his world building, and I really love her character and how she brings that to life. And that's not even the end. Oh my gosh, the end. So, flipping to my next page of notes here. The last time we see Dalinar, he's having his final vision of the book, and he's talking to this guy, and he figures out that the visions haven't been talking to him. They've been kind of like pre-recorded. But basically we find out at the end that the person who is talking is not only dead, but is the Almighty. That's right. That is another like trademark Brandon Sanderson moment. He is just, the stuff that he does and the brilliant insight into religious philosophy, the arguments that he makes in his portrayals of religion, and like the devoted religious individuals in the books versus the heretics versus like the skeptical but like those who were raised to believe in the Almighty and Voidbringers and Knights Radiant and all of these things, all of these mythological and religious creatures and figures, and how they both transcend the natural world but then are brought back down by these like bombshell discoveries. And again, that's still not the end, because then we go to Zeth, who has been absolutely massacring like so many people, so many important people, and the last person on his list that he's supposed to kill is Taravangian, who is the king of Carbranth, which is the location that Jasna and Shallan are studying right now. And the whole book, he's just like this really like cute, naive old man, and he visits people in the hospital. So Szeth goes to kill him, and then he whips out his Oathstone and is like, psych, I'm your master. I think this is the twist that caught me off guard the most because it was so goddamn unexpected. Like, first of all, Taravangian is like a side character. He's not even like in the forefront of all of these like moments. We see him like 4 or 5 times in some of Shallan's perspectives, and then all of a sudden he's like evil. We find out that he has this like secret dungeon full of impoverished and disenfranchised people from all over the kingdom, and he's bleeding them slowly to death and recording their final words because he and the people who are working for him have discovered that these people in their final moments of life are transported to this place where they can almost see the future or predict it, and they're recording that information to see what's coming, because there's this whole thing throughout the entire book that the true desolation or the Everstorm is coming, and it just seems to be this really, really big, bad, cataclysmic, world-ending event that is on its way, and these people and what they say is giving hints towards that moment. And so he's had Szeth kill a bunch of really important, high-ranking people in politics because he recognizes that the world has to be willing to mold and change if humanity's gonna survive whatever this is. And he's bleeding these poor people because he's like, we have to know, and I'm willing to do what it takes. And Szeth's like, you're insane, this is horrible. And he's like, yeah, I know, but like, it is what it is. I have to talk about the epilogue, which is very short, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's from Wit's perspective. Wit is a character, I don't know if I've talked about him yet. He's really, really funny, super amazing, but he's the king's wit, so he just like makes fun of everybody for Elokar, basically. He's also just like really secretly smart and well-traveled and knowledgeable, and I believe he is actually also a character from Warbreaker, which is my first and currently my favorite Brandon Sanderson, though I think it might be dethroned by one of the future Stormlight Archives books. And so yeah, we are with him and he's waiting for someone to show up, and this person comes and he's like about to die, and he's like, sorry dude, I failed, like shit's about to go down. The true desolation is on its way. What a roller coaster ride. Hi friends, we are finally at the end of this video. We're here to do the outro, the wrap up, the final thoughts on The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I'm so glad that I finally started this series, even though I was nervous and apprehensive about the fact that this is such a long series and only 4 out of the 10 books are published. I trust Brandon Sanderson to write the rest of this. Who are my favorite characters? I think we already probably can guess all of this, but Kaladin, obviously, number 1. My second favorite character, I think, is Jasna, and I'm so excited to get more from her in the future. She's so cool. I love her. I love everything about her, and I can't wait to get to know her better. And I think coming in at number 3, ooh, this is a tough one. Okay, I'm gonna say Rock and Adolin are like battling for the number 3 spot. There are 2 other characters that I really love. Rock is one of the members of the bridge crew. I love him. He's hilarious. He's funny. He's like a chef. He refuses to fight. He's the best. I really like him. And I have hope for Adolin, that he is going to mature and just evolve in a really positive way. So overall, I am going to give this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Not really surprising, I'm sure, but it was a little slow at first. I didn't absolutely love Dalinar, but for the most part, I really liked it. Let me know down below who your favorite character is or your favorite POV, and if you've read all of the books, like up to Rhythm of War, which one is your favorite? Don't tell me why and don't give me spoilers, but I'm just really interested. It's so much fun filming this video. I really want to do one for Words of Radiance, so thank you so much for stopping by and supporting my channel. It really means the absolute world to me because I love this. I love doing this. It's my hobby. It's so much fun, and I like talking about books with people. And you're my people to talk about books with. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if that's your jam, and I'll see you in my next video. Happy reading, happy writing, and happy living. Bye!